morning. So today is main filming day with the squad. Everyone is around apart from Paul, who's gone to Italy for a couple of days. We've got Sam, James, and now Luca, who's joined as well, and Archie is around but obviously doesn't have a car because no driving license. And yesterday, remember, we went up to film the Audi R8 Spider. It was a sick road which we haven't used enough to film, and so today we wanted to just get B-roll shots and general different videos for all of our channels of our cars. So we figured we'd go back up to that road and all help each other out to all film videos for all the different channels. Before that though, we haven't eaten anything, so we need to get a sandwich.
Where is it? Have you got all of it?
Got the ladybug.
You got a ladybug?
I'm so sandwich. I'm so sandwich. Another trip down this old road. Walking round in your new clothes. I'll stay, find what you're needing. And I'll stay, watching you breathing. Fall into my open arms, dreaming of what you become. All that I can do is love.
We've made it to the top of the hill then. Beautiful view. This is where we came yesterday with the R8. It's absolutely stunning here. View of all of Monaco. But as you can tell, we've got all of the cars. We've got V27 spoiler. His Instagram will be down below. His GT3 RS. My Exige 380. James's 675 LT. And the 540C over there, and the Twizy as the film car, and then there's an M3 which was here when we got here. And today's video is going to be what makes a supercar, because I've had so many questions asking whether this is considered to be a sports car or a supercar, and I thought now that we're in the company of three definite supercars, why not hop in the car with the guys and talk to them about what makes a supercar and why a car should be considered a supercar. So we're going to kick it off, work our way up the food chain, and start off with my Lotus Exige with Archie in the car, and we'll just have a chat. Alright Archie, we're in the car now.
Alright Seb.
So, Lotus Exige 380. Let's hit the road and discuss it.
We shall do that.
So yeah, what makes a supercar for you?
Well, I get this question a lot when I've done videos with this car. Some people do say this is more of a sports car.
Yeah.
But for me, it comes down to a few different things. Rarity, I think, is a massive thing. Like, hard to get hold of. This car is very hard to get hold of. You can't just spec it like this.
Yeah.
Performance. The noise, obviously, that's goes hand in hand with performance. I think price it is and it isn't a thing. Do you know what I mean? Like performance, like 0 to 60 times as well. This is rapid.
Yeah. And
how it handles on a track as well. That is one thing I personally would see. If I could see it handling well on a track and sort of not that like friendly on an everyday road, I would classify that as a supercar. Okay. Because that's not in the same bracket as, let's say, a C63. Do you know what I mean?
Which does the performance, but it doesn't have the rarity or the track focusedness. So for you, some of these daily supercars don't necessarily qualify.
Well, you know, like when it's insane to look at, you know, when it's a sense of occasion when you look at something. But let's say something turned up like a C63 or an M3. You think, oh, that's an M3, it's a C63. Yeah. But do you think, oh, that's absolute wow? Do you know what I mean? The wow factor. Yeah. The wow factor.
It needs to have a wow factor. The way it looks plays a big part, because
plays a massive part.
You know, now things like RS5s are as quick as Enzo's were a couple of years ago, but they don't have the rarity, the wow factor, and all of that. But on a spec sheet, they would technically qualify. So it's not just about speed, performance, it's about the overall package for you.
For me, it's more literally like performance and just like literally like rarity and the sense of occasion. I think this, for me, is 100% a supercar because we've spent time in it, and I know the performance of it. There's no way that's a sports car in my eyes. Everyone's got their own personal opinion, but my opinion,
I mean, just to give you one fun statistic, this has the same acceleration figures as the 540C.
Exactly.
Which is crazy when you think about it.
And no one would complain that the 540C, or shouldn't complain, the 540C is not a supercar. Exactly. And this would have way more acceleration than an old Gen R8. Yeah. So, and they classify that as a supercar. So where's the, do you know what I what's right and what's wrong. I think this 100% all day long is a supercar.
I'm now in Sam's car, the McLaren 540C. This particular one has a Larini exhaust as well.
It does.
And what I want to talk about with you is what for you makes a supercar.
Good question.
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
Well, the thing which I find most interesting is McLaren themselves call this a sports car.
Yes.
This is their sports series, but I think it's a supercar.
It definitely is. But this is something you were talking about earlier. There's a new segment which has been created in the last couple of years almost.
Yeah, I think there's now a super sports car.
Okay.
Because like an F-Type R, for example, probably a sports car. An F-Type SVR, is that still a sports car?
Because
and
it's got the performance.
That's exactly.
It's got the rarity.
Well, yeah.
They are rare. They are rare. You don't see many of them.
I don't think rarity has a huge amount to do with it personally. I think mid-engine. When I personally think of a supercar,
mid-engine. So as James said earlier, SLSs, things like that.
Yeah, agreed. Obviously a supercar, but in my mind, if you literally say supercar to me, I'm thinking of a mid-engine, super exotic,
flamboyant
looking, probably Italian design.
Yeah.
And of course, there are examples like the SLS Black Series that kind of buck that trend, or the F12. Or
you've got sort of one-off like little cars that are completely different.
But in my mind, if you literally just said to me like, draw a supercar, you know what? That would be super interesting. Get a whole lot of kids to draw a supercar, and see what characteristics remain true.
And how important is performance for you?
I think it's important, but now, like a C63 or the new RS5 is like as quick as I don't know
what we were saying with ours,
So from that point of view, you're like, well, what quantifies whether it's super or not? And I think low. I think it has to be low.
Okay.
I think, you know, an RS6, for example, in my mind, is not a supercar.
Ideally two-seater.
Ideally two. Yes, very good point. Two-seater, I think, is another thing.
Yeah,
you know,
important.
like an FF or GCC4 Lusso, whatever. Like, yes, it's got super performance, it's got a Ferrari badge, but it's front engine, it's got 4 seats. Like, I think that's.
That won't quite do it.
I think that's like a super GT car.
But this is definitely a supercar. But I think you make a good point of the super sports cars sort of segment now.
Yeah.
Because that could be exactly where my XC380 falls.
Well, I think super sports is a whole new category of itself. Where
it's not to say they aren't very impressive.
Oh my God, there's the word super in there for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. Well, okay, thank you. I'm now going to hop into what is undeniably a supercar, the GT3. Right, I'm in the car with @V27 Spoiler Mixer, isn't it, on Instagram, whose Instagram is down below in your GT3 RS 991, which is absolutely beautiful with the 911R style stripes. So what I want to ask you is, what for you is a supercar?
Well, we were chatting about before.
Yeah.
We're gonna say pretty much the very first thing, mid-engine.
Mid-engine, okay, interesting. So where does this qualify for that?
It doesn't qualify.
It doesn't qualify, okay.
Everything's on the wrong side.
Yeah.
It's a rear engine.
Yeah.
So mid-engine, quite low, quite wide.
Yeah.
You know, nice in stance.
Yeah, you were saying about 2 meters wide for you. Is
You know, ballpark is about 198.
Yeah,
Much
yeah.
the supercars.
Yeah.
Are like 198.
Yeah.
2 meters. Yeah.
Low, lightweight. Is that an important one for you?
For me, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
It has to be lightweight.
And how important is performance?
Performance-wise, not necessarily going through the numbers.
Yeah,
Personally, I'm not chasing the numbers.
Yeah. You can turn here, by the way.
Yeah, not anymore.
Okay.
I was, for a long time trying to get like supercars.
Yeah, trying to get the
chasing
fastest
numbers,
thing
but
possible.
then it doesn't necessarily mean that you are having.
Yeah. It's more the way it makes you feel, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And to me, well, I was coming from a Nissan GTR.
Yeah.
About numbers.
Yeah.
It's a very nice car, but it's very focused on one
numbers,
kind of road. Yeah, unless you're on a very specific kind of fast road.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a bit boring.
Yeah.
With our Lotus, it's absolutely by well, it has numbers anyway.
Yeah. So it has the numbers. It's wide. It's low. It's got the mid-engine. Now, what we were talking about with Sam just now is does it qualify as a supercar or a super sports car, which is a new category which sort of been created in the last few years?
I get well.
That's a hard one.
If you wanna create that new category, yes, definitely a super sports car.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it supercar, you know, just because
it doesn't
it has
cost
to
quite
be,
enough.
Probably the cost is the factory.
Yeah, and also, I mean,
finishing.
which I think pays quite a bit of importance, other materials used on the interior and things like that. In the Lotus aren't quite to the caliber of things like this.
No,
or the McLaren. I mean, this is one of the all-time grandfathers of all supercars.
Absolutely, yeah.
But now I'm going to hop into what is definitely undisputed a supercar and one of the all-time greats, I think, James's 675 LT.
Yes.
And now here we are in what is definitely one hell of a supercar. So James,
Yes.
my question for you, sir, what for you makes a supercar?
I think there's 3 to 4 facets which define a
interesting.
supercar.
Yeah.
The first one is hard to sort of quantify, which is just all around exotic.
Yes.
And exotic for some people could be the way it looks, the way it sounds,
yeah.
the materials it's made of,
I think it's more of a mix of all of the things put together.
all of those things. Generally, and I think this is a byproduct of what a supercar is, they tend to be expensive.
Yeah.
Just because by the very nature of a supercar for me is that it's pushing boundaries.
Yeah.
So does car in question push boundaries?
Yeah.
And I guess the big one, does it make you wow?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Does it make you feel
Does it
like I'm
make
in
you feel
something
like-
special?
Like, oh my god, when I'm in this, it doesn't matter how hard you drive a Prius, it's never gonna set your heart alight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think if it does a good job of making you smile,
Yeah.
goosebumps on the back of your neck, sound like if at any point it makes you go, oh my god, it's approaching supercar territory.
Okay.
Now I know there's been a lot of chat around this new segment, which
Super
is
sports cars.
super sports car, and I fully agree with that. There are cars which are very much blurring the lines between the very top end of a sports car and the very bottom end of a supercar. I mean, for example, for me, the epitome of a super sports car was the original V8 R8.
Yes. You're right. You had one.
It
of
had
those.
all of the wow factor. It looked good and it sounded cool.
Yeah.
But the overall performance wasn't quite up there with a supercar.
Yeah.
And I think it's a combo of factors that would make it so.
So okay, and so for you, would you say that the Lotus falls into super sports car or supercar category?
I think yours is the top echelon of super sports car.
And I think I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say I think my car's a supercar and all of that jazz, because I do think it falls into the top echelon, as you say, of super sports car. But this, on the other hand, is one hell of a supercar, and this falls into the top echelon of supercar before we go to hypercar. And hopefully one day we're gonna be able to do a video like this talking about what is a hypercar. And that would be
absolutely.
cool.
Yeah. I've got one question for you.
Yeah.
Can we identify what it is that makes it not a supercar? Why do we think it's at the very top of the
That's
supercar
very hard.
bracket?
For me, you know what it is? It's what you were talking about at first, which was a supercar is a mix of sound, performance, I don't know what that is, sound, performance, and also materials used. Now, whereas it does have carbon fiber and all this stuff, the interior, for me, doesn't have enough sort of really expensive feeling materials. And
So
that
it's not exotic
detracts from-
enough.
Yes, the price. I mean, it's about 100 grand, which is
still a lot of money,
but
but if
super
you-
sports cars are expensive.
Absolutely.
It's a bit small as well, aesthetically.
Okay.
Which I believe detracts from that. Not as much as the Elise was, but that definitely has a say in it.
Yes.
And it also doesn't necessarily have as much of the pedigree. So it has a lot of pedigree.
Sure.
Lotus has a lot of pedigree as a sports car brand,
Yeah,
but not as a supercar brand.
True.
I think.
Yeah,
So that's one thing that also detracts from that. And on that jolly note, I think we're gonna, go back with all the other guys and let's end this video.
That's good.
Right, that's the end of the video then. It's been really interesting analysing what we think a supercar is, and clearly there is this new segment, super sports cars, And that's exactly where the Lotus Exige Sport 380 falls in. All the other cars are supercars, and thank you to everyone for allowing me to film with their cars. It's been absolutely fantastic. I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment what you think about the super sports car or supercar debate down below, and we're going to be back with another video tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to subscribe down below, and I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Quick cap saving, serenading them hoes. No Juliet.